All right, today we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials. And yesterday we discussed, what a polynomial was, and the characteristics that go with it, such as, leading coefficients, degrees, the names of them, and that type of stuff. So today's lesson is actually going to be a lot of review from algebra class about, combining like terms and matching up, monomials that have the same degree. So there's a couple different ways we can go about this, and the first way that I want to talk about today is I want to talk about adding polynomials horizontally. And what you do when you add polynomials horizontally is you just take and you look for, all right, like terms. So this one right here, we have a 1t squared. This one we have a 5t squared. There's a plus sign in between them, so we go with a positive 6t squared. I'm going to cross that off and cross that off since I used it, okay? Then you go to your next term, which would be a negative 6t, and you also right here have a minus t. So you have negative 6t plus a minus 1t. When you go ahead and you add those together, you end up with negative 7t, okay? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cross that off and cross that off. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at this plus 2, and this plus 2, minus 8, which are both my constant terms. So what we have now is we have plus 2, plus a negative 8, which would give me minus 6. And what we've done here is we went ahead and we added my polynomial horizontally. Okay? Another way to go ahead and do this, the second way to go ahead and add polynomials, is to do it vertically. Okay? And think back to when you were like in 3rd and 4th grade and you had to do something like this. You had to do, 112, and you had to do plus 47. All right? This is kind of the same idea. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to match these up, and we're going to write them vertically. Okay, so I take a look at the two sets of parentheses, and I notice that this one has a c squared, this one has a c to the third, but it's missing a c squared. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take and I'm going to write this one right here on the top because it has the larger exponent. Okay, so I would write it as 2c to the third power. And then I know that there's no c squared, so I'm going to write plus 0 c squared. That's just how I do it. All right, minus 6c plus 8. All right, and then below it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write this one, and I'm going to match it up, all right, with its, with the variables. Okay, so I'm going to write a 5c squared here. All right, I'm going to write a plus 7c here. And I'm going to write a plus 1, and what we want to do is we want to add these. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and add these two right here. I'm going to get a positive 9. I'm going to add these two right here. I'm going to get a positive 1c. I'm going to add these two right here. I'm going to get a positive 5c squared. And then I just go ahead and bring this down, and I have 2c to the third power. Okay? So you can do it either way that you want. I just wanted to go ahead and show you both. All right, subtracting polynomials now. All right, the second thing we want to talk about today. If you go ahead and subtract polynomials horizontally, what I want you to be very careful about is I want you to be very careful about this negative sign right here. Okay? I know that there's a negative 1 right here, so what I want to do is I want to take and I want to distribute that negative 1 inside the parentheses, so I'm going to get rid of that negative sign. Okay? I do not touch these up front, so I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite these. 8v to the 4th minus 2v squared plus v minus 4. And now I have a minus 3v to the third. The negative and the negative here, I get a plus 12v squared. And then right here, I end up with a negative 8v. And then I just go ahead and combine like terms. Okay? Nothing matches up with this, so I'm just going to write it on its own. 8v to the 4th, cross it off. Let's go to my next exponent, which is this one right here. I'm going to write that one all by itself. Negative 3v to the third, because there's nothing to combine it with. Then I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this, and I have this like term over here. So I'm going to combine those together. So I got negative 2v squared plus 12v, which would give me a positive 10v squared. Cross it off, cross it off. I know that these two right here match up. All right, so that's going to give me a minus 7v. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cross that off and cross that off. And then I got this one sitting here all by itself, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write minus 4. Okay? Now, if we wanted to go ahead and do that vertically, you could go ahead and do it the same way that we did it up here. I'd take and I would write this one right here first, since it has the largest exponent. So I'd write 4t to the third minus 11t squared plus 4t, and then I would go ahead and I'd write plus 0 back here because there's no constant term. All right? Now, what I want to do is I'm going to take, and I want to make this a plus sign right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to distribute, distribute, and distribute again. So now I know that down here I'm going to end up with a positive 7t squared. I'm going to end up with a positive 5t, and I'm going to end up with a negative 8. All right, and then we do it the same way as we did before. Add those together, positive 9t here. You end up with a minus 4t squared, and you end up with a 4t to the third power. And we've added those. Okay? Multiplying polynomials. All right, same idea. All right, as you've done in the past. We've worked a lot with a binomial times a binomial. Now what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about a binomial times a trinomial. So what we do is we take this first, all right, the variable right here, and I'm going to take and I'm going to multiply that by every single thing inside the second set of parentheses. So I'm going to do x times 2x squared, which would give me 2x to the third power. X times negative 2x would give me minus 2x squared. And then you got x times a positive 3, which would give me plus 3x. Okay? Now I'm going to take this negative 5 and I'm going to distribute it here, here, and here. I'm going to multiply that by every single term in that second set of parentheses. So I'm going to get minus 10x squared, all right, minus 10x, and then I'm going to end up with a minus 15. And then we go ahead and combine some like terms. All right, nothing matches with this, so I'm just going to go ahead and bring it down. 2x to the third, cross it off. I have this and this go together. All right, both x squareds. So I'm going to get minus 12x squared. Cross it off, cross it off. I have this goes with this. Those are like terms, so I end up with minus 7x. All right, cross it off, and then this is sitting all by itself, so I'm going to bring down my minus 15. Okay. Same idea here for multiplying three binomials as we just did up top there. Pretty much what you would do is I would take and I would cover up this one to start with. I would just go ahead and I'd get rid of it. And I would focus on working on these two right here first. And I would go ahead and I'd FOIL them. All right. And when I did that, what I'd end up with is I'd end up with 2a, all right, squared. I'd end up with, what do I get there? My positive 6, I'd say minus a, and then I'd end up with minus 21. Okay, I did not touch this one out front, so I'd go with a plus 1 here, and now I would do the same thing that I did in the example above. I'd distribute, 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 and then I would go ahead and I would distribute, distribute, and distribute. Okay, so what you do is you go ahead and you cross off the first one. You don't even use it. You just go ahead and you get rid of that, and you focus on the last two. Then bring that first one back in, and then go ahead and distribute again. Okay. So that's multiplying three binomials. You know, let's go ahead and let's finish it up. We'd end up with 2a to the third power minus a squared minus 21a, and then I'd end up with a positive 2a squared. I'd end up with a minus a, and I'd end up with a minus 21. 2a to the third power plus a squared minus 22a minus 21 is what we should end up for that one. Okay. Now, also in this chapter we talk about special product patterns. Okay. There's a sum and the difference, there's a square of a binomial, and there's a cube of a binomial. I don't necessarily expect you to remember these, all right, but if you can, it turns out to be simple. So the special product pattern for the sum and the difference, if you have a binomial with a plus sign and a minus sign, but the same a and b values, you're going to end up with a squared, all right, minus b squared. An example of this might be something like this: x plus 4, all right, and then you got x minus 4. If you did this the long way, you'd end up with x squared minus 4x plus 4x, all right, minus 16. What happens with your terms in the middle? Well, they cancel out, and you're really just left with x squared minus 16. So in this one, if you made your a value equal to the x right here, this would be your a value, this would be your a value, and you made your b value equal to 4, All you would do is you'd take the a and you'd square it, you'd take the b and you'd square it. Okay? Same idea here. All right? You'd end up with a squared, you'd end up with plus 2ab, you'd end up with plus b squared. Okay? In this one, you'd end up with a squared minus 2ab, and you'd end up with plus b squared. These are just patterns that you can use. Examples, let's say you had x minus 5, and you had that squared. Well, you know that means x minus 5 times x minus 5. If you did FOIL, you'd end up with x squared minus 10x, all right, plus 25. Okay? A simpler way to do that is identify your a value. In this one, it's the term that's right here. And you identify your b value, and that is right here. Okay? The first part you want to do is you want to take and you want to square your a values. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to do x squared. Okay? Then you want to go ahead and subtract a times b. So you got x times 5, and you multiply that by 2. So you end up with 10x. And then you take and you square your last term, and you end up with plus 25. Okay? So that's the square of a binomial. Cube of a binomial looks like this. All right? If you were to go ahead and write it out, you know that this means a plus b times a plus b times a plus b. And what you could do is you could just go ahead and write that out and do it just like you did up here, where you multiplied 3 binomials. But the shortcut looks like this. Okay? A to the third, all right, plus 3a squared b plus 3ab squared, all right, plus b to the third power. This is the shortcut. All right, if you can go ahead and if you can remember that pattern. Okay? This one down here means a minus b times a minus b times a minus b. But really, if you wanted, instead of multiplying those out, multiplying the 3 binomials, it would look like this. A to the third power minus 3a squared b plus 3ab squared minus b to the third power. This is a special pattern. Okay? And what you do is you just take and you substitute in your a values, substitute in your b values for whatever is here. Okay? That's the lesson, guys, on adding, subtracting, multiplying polynomials. Next, we're going to get into factoring and factoring completely.